Right. So we are testing the radio and YouTube at the same time. So those who are on the road may be able to listen to us as well. All right. So can someone confirm if we are on YouTube? Let me try. Okay, yes. Live. All right. Shalom, everyone. And welcome. Yeah, shalom and welcome once again to another of our Shabbat teachings. Today we look at the three-letter word, sin. A very, very simple title today. Couldn't get simpler than this. Only 3 letters. S-I-N. Sin. And I hope today we can actually get through. I don't think we'll be able to get through with a whole lot that we have because sin is there's so much to it. But let me just begin. This teaching, let me just introduce this teaching. This teaching is so very, very, very important. It will let us get an understanding of what sin is, what it is to us, how to overcome it, a deeper insight into sin, deeper insights into the book of Genesis that it relates to sin. And there's just so much to it that we can learn. And there's so much to it. So let's begin by giving the meaning of the word sin. And let's go to the Blue Letter Bible. And the meaning of the word sin is from the Hebrew word katawa, which means sin, sinful, sin offering, condition of sin, guilt of sin, punishment for sin. It doesn't really tell us, really go into detail to tell us what it actually is. But if you go to the root word, to the etymology of the word, it is H2398. And when you go to H2398, you get more insights as to what sin actually is. And we go to the outline of biblical usage, we see it means to sin, to miss the way. To miss the way. No, we are followers of the way. As we speak, we're having a conversation. I was having a conversation with someone on Just a Word Shorts. And he claims to follow the way. But what he's actually following is the teachings of the apostles, Shaul, to overrule the law and the prophets. So this is very important, that sin is missing the way. We cannot say we're following the way and then we are missing the way. Sin, you have to find the way. To miss the goal or path of right and duty. So, to incur guilt, penalty, all right. To be a loss, to make a sin offering. This was the one that we looked at first. Now here's the one that's more specific. It says to miss the mark. So you miss the way, and you also specifically miss the mark. So it tells us that sin is a specific mark. When you're talking to people and they say, hey, that is your truth. You have to tell them that there is only one truth. It's either I am wrong or I am right. there is only one truth. So sin is missing the mark. So there is only one mark, and we have to find it. So we cannot be all over the place. It cannot be either or either. It cannot be here and there. It cannot be, oh yes, this is it, but. So for example, in the word it tells you cannot serve Yahuwah and Mammon. It tells you also a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. What it's telling you is that there is only one mark, and you have to single-mindedly find the mark. To induce the sin, cause the sin, to bring into guilt or condemnation or punishment. To miss one's self, to lose oneself, to wander from the way. To wander from the way. Again, there's only one way, and you have to find that one single way to purify oneself from uncleanness. So to wander from the way and to miss the mark. I believe that these are the two most specific things about sin. You have to find the truth, and then you cannot wander from the truth, or you cannot miss the truth, or else you will sin. All right? All right, so we have a lot to get through, so let's go. So we're going to go to the book of Habereshit. We're going to go to Genesis, to the first sin, to get an understanding of what sin actually is. I'm telling you that this teaching is very important, people, for our salvation, for us to know the right way, the right path, so that we ourselves do not miss the mark, so that we do not miss the way, so that we do not wander from the path, because it is easy to wander from the path. We know the way, we were following the right way, but then we wandered. And we wandered from the way. Yes? So we now have to make sure we do not wander from the way. So before the first sin, there was a commandment. Before the first sin on earth, there was a commandment. Genesis 2:15. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and keep it, and to keep it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. That is the command. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. And of course, people contemplate whether this is a real tree, whether they are true fruits, whether they are true that. Okay? I have looked into it extensively and do believe that it is a real fruit. And I think I did some other things on Just a Word Radio, Jar Radio, that made me believe so. So along with the commandment comes judgment for obedience. This is something very important. When he said, in the day that surely die. So with the commandment, look at the commandment. But of the tree you must not eat. Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. In the day that thou eatest that, thou shalt surely die. And that is the way of the man. He gives us commandments, and he gives us judgments to go with the commandments. The problem with religion today is that the Most High has given us commandments, and we reject. He put his judgments away and act as if the commandments are frivolous, as if the commandments are nothing. We rubbish the commandments, we put them aside. We rubbish his judgments. Oh, Yahuwah is not going to do this. When you tell people, for example, when you tell Christians about the judgment that is coming on this world, about the 1,000-year reign, being the children of Israel, turning the Most High, turning around the captivity of his people, and repaying those who punished his people for the punishment that they gave to his people, and he was going to replenish them double. When we tell them that, they say, oh no, God is not going to do that. Hey, so they now worship a God who goes back on his word and tells lies. behind whom there is no judgment. But every time the Most High gives us commands, there are judgments for the command. It is like us with our little children. If you do not do this, then I'm going to punish you. It keeps the child in line. It is the same thing with us. The threat of punishment keeps us in line with the Most High's will and with His commands. So after this now, man was given help. So man was given the command first, and then man was given help. Here is the problem now with women. When I speak these things, let me tell you something. I tell you, every time I speak, I have enemies everywhere. I just speak the truth. I don't care. I am not here to make you feel good, to make you feel nice, to let you like me or love me. Everywhere I go, people hate me. People despise me because I will say something nice and I'll be the greatest thing, and then bam, I step on their corn. And they despise me for it. Here is the problem with women. The man was given the commandment, and then a woman came. I want you to listen to this because this has to do with our lives. This manifests, nothing has changed. The Adam in us has not changed. The Kwa in us have not changed. All right? So along comes the woman, because the woman was given as a help meet. The woman was given to help us. Genesis 2 verse 18. And Yahuwah said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him." An helpmeet, someone to help him. And out of the ground Yahuwah formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. And he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. So the man was given help. And Adam said, "This is no bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." Some women act as if they were not taken out of men. They acted as if they were the ones who were first formed. Man was formed, and you were taken from man and given to man in order to be a helpmeet to man, to help, to assist man, not to lead man, not to bully man, not to use your emotions and the weakness of man to lead them and to have your own way. A true righteous woman would know and always remember, go back to Kwa and Adam and be right in line. She will remember what Kwa did and use that as an error so that she would not be in the way. If you are a woman of Yahuwah now, there is no way you should be trying to lead your husband. No way you should be anything but help unto him. And Adam said, "This is no bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." So when they leave and they come together, they become one flesh. When the marriage is consummated and both come together, they become one flesh. Something happens in the realm of the spirit and the physical realm where the Most High meshes both flesh together. When the marriage is consummated, they become one. And that one they become does not mean, don't follow the world, it does not mean they are equal. It means that what is lacking in the man, the woman now fills it up. A good woman completes her man. All the deficiencies that the man has, the man might not be so quick to think about certain things or the man may ignore certain finer details. The woman is there and the woman fills in those details. She completes him. Now the most important thing now here is, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. I want us to look at that very carefully. They were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. They were both naked. And this naked we're going to look at in more detail. So they were both naked and they were not ashamed. So along came the serpent. Along came the deceiver. Along came the liar. Along came the wicked one. Genesis 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Allah said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Notice the question. Now the man told the woman that she should not eat of the tree of life. Now the serpent came and asked the woman. So the woman knew what she was, the instructions that they were given. And the woman said unto the serpent, Ye may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Allah hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So the serpent asked her, the woman repeated the same thing that Adam gave to her. Notice, the tree was in the midst of the garden. The midst of the garden. The command for us, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Satan has come and he has done the same thing. The greatest temptation of Babylon is in the midst of Babylon, the heart of Babylon, the core of Babylon. So, the Most High is telling us to flee out of the midst of Babylon. He's telling us again, do not eat of the tree. Leave the midst of Babylon alone. Anyway, that is a side note. So, the serpent asked her, but then, here's what the deceiver did. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. So the Most High gave a command, and the serpent is now saying that Yahuwah is telling a lie. First thing, Yahuwah is telling a lie. Now, this happens to us when we are speaking about the commands and the commandments. We go to people and we speak about it, and they say, that is done away. This is the same thing. It's the spirit of Hasatan. Yes? When we say, for example, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And the Christian says, oh, well, we keep Sunday. Well, okay, the Sabbath is done away with. Oh, it's the same thing. Ye shall not surely die. It is going back and saying what Yahuwah said, it is wrong. So if we take heed to anything like that, if there's any command, and we go back on it and say, that is no longer, you don't do that anymore. No Sabbath. We keep Sunday, and that is okay with the Most High. This is good doing the same thing right here. Okay. For Allah doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. So we are given the command, and then someone comes and says, no man, Yahuwah doesn't want you to do it because such and such. What you're actually doing is actually saying that Yahuwah is malicious. Yeah? And this happens to us sometimes when some people go into all sorts of knowledge and all sorts of things. Kabbalah in Judaism, they go into all sorts of different things. When you look, they have lost their way, gone all over the place. Yes? Worshipping all sorts of things in the end. Thinking that Yahuwah has hidden things from them that he doesn't want them to know. But what do? We follow the instructions of Yahuwah. It's very important. We follow the instructions of Yahuwah. We do not seek to follow any hidden thing and say, okay, Yahuwah is hiding this from us now that I have found it out. No. We seek to follow the Most High. So when the woman heard this, she had the option, who do I follow? When they come to you and say, oh, the Sabbath is done away with, who do you follow? The law is done away with. And the Most High said in Revelation 14:12, here is the patience of the saints, here are they that keep the commandments of Allah and the faith of Yahusha. And then they tell you that the law is done away with. The last book of the Bible is telling that, Revelation 22:15, Barak are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and entering through the gates into the city. The last book is telling you that, yet they are telling you that that is done away with. What do you do? And let's see what the woman does. The self exalted above the word surely leads to sin. When the Most High gives us a word, the consideration is whether or not we are going to obey the word. Whether or not obey the word. And our consideration is usually based on ourselves. What do we like? What do we want? How will this affect us? A lot of things, because man is so complicated. That is why sin is so complicated. And the complication begins with this. As soon as I present myself in the mix, it's trouble. As soon as I present my thoughts, my desires, and that is why the word says, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of Allah, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. You have to present this to be a daily living sacrifice. Everything is a sacrifice, because every time you make provision for this, trouble. Anytime you do not put this on the hot seat, it is trouble. Because let's see what the woman did. Let's see what the woman did. Let's see if the woman is going to say, no. I am going to obey Yahuwah. You cannot come here and tell me this. Yahuwah told me this, so I'm going to obey. Genesis 3 verse 6. And before we go there again, we said the man was given the command. The serpent did not go to the man. The serpent went to the weak link, which is the woman. That is why Shaul says, as unto a weaker vessel. The serpent went to the weaker vessel. Now, women are strong in some ways in which men are weak. One way I know women are strong, it is going to the doctor. A man will be so afraid to go to that doctor to hear the prognosis. The woman will sit in there and hear the prognosis. The man, not going to the doctor, take a chuck to pull him to go to that doctor. Yeah? I know that much, that there are certain ways in which men are strong. But the serpent knows the ways in which women are weak, and that is the emotions. The emotions. When a man hears something, a man usually will just look at it for the face value. A man will say, okay, Yahuwah told me this. Okay? That's how it is. You cannot come and tell me anything else. A woman now has to start weighing everything. Juggling everything around. Yes, this, that, and that, and that, and this. And this is where she gets into trouble. And not women alone are like this. Women are more prone to that. Men are also like this as well, which is why sin is so prevalent. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, notice I highlighted food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired. The internet has fallen off. All right, I'm just taking a break here because the internet has fallen. Signal is weak. Going up and down, up and down. I don't know if YouTube is hearing me. All right, so we're back on. All right, so we're back on. Yeah. So notice I highlighted the different things that woman considered. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. This verse here is saying a whole lot. That's why I don't think we can end everything today. Too much food is here. When the woman saw, that means the woman is easily fooled with her eyes. That the tree was good for food, comfort, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. Remember, there are other trees that they could eat from. Remember that. It's not as if there was no food. There were other trees that they could eat from. But this one was tempting, good for food, pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. Those are three things: food, lust of the flesh; eyes, lust of the eyes; and wise, pride of life. Those three things are what are our weaknesses as human beings. So when she saw all of those things, what happened to her? She forgot everything about what she was or she was not supposed to do. Very important. She forgot everything about what she was not or what she was supposed to do. Forget everything. And this is how sin is. When we are sinning, something happens. When we put the self there, we forget everything about that which is forbidden. Whenever the self is concerned, and this is why sometimes we sin presumptuously. The self is so prevalent, we say, oh, let me take this, I'll eat this. Yeah, God will understand. That's what the Christians say. Yes? Because the self is so prevalent. The self, this is our problem, our biggest problem when it comes to sin, which we should look at a little later. So when this is put in the middle, we forget everything about the command. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat. So the husband now, here is the weakness of the man. The weakness of the man is to be led by the woman. The woman is doing that which is wrong, and she brings it to us as men. If we have a weakness to the woman, then we will follow the woman. The woman must never, ever, ever lead. The woman must never, ever be allowed to lead the man. The woman is there to help, so she's there to suggest. The man has to stand up and rationalize that suggestion to see whether or not it is right in the eyes and the sight of Yahuwah. A young woman reading this, I'm watching this. You are called to help. You are not called to lead a man. You are called to help. Now, if this was in the right order, when the woman came and ate the fruit, the man would have reprimanded the woman and would not have partaken of it, and would have waited until Yahuwah came and let Yahuwah know exactly what is happening, and ask Yahuwah, what do we do? All right? So, bowing to the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, those to sin. 1 John 2:16-17. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So when we are in the world and we have all of these worldly lusts and pride of life is leading us, then it is not of the Father. Yes? That is why we tell people, and people are saying, I remember, every time I remember when someone said that, people must not leave the world. Must not leave the world. I must not stop telling people to leave the world. If you're in the world, you're going to be led by the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life. And then it is not of the Father. You cannot serve the Father in the midst of the world. You cannot serve the Father or lead in the world. You're only in religion. Let me tell you something. Most of you are out there, you are in religion. You are just doing a routine, worshiping and going through routine. No true transformation can take place until you rip yourself away from the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. No true transformation can take place. So as long as you're in the world, going through their routine, doing their things, you are going to be gripped by this world system which is not of the Father. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Allah abideth forever. So you now have to decide and you have to learn how to do the will of Yahuwah. Because the lusts of this world will be there, passing away. But they will be carrying you with them. All right? So let us continue. So after sin, they were ashamed of their nakedness. Now, we're going to look into nakedness a little more. I had finished this teaching on Thursday, and Friday morning I got a call from someone telling me a dream. And the dream person said they saw this man sitting at a certain place in our hometown where we were from. And the man had the Bible open to Genesis 3. Now this person who gave me the dream had no idea that I was in Genesis 3. And this is what I'm telling you, that every week when you hear these teachings, people, you have to cherish them. These teachings are not coming from me, from the Most High. How did this person know that I would be teaching Genesis 3? I had already completed the teaching and put it down. How did this person, or would this person know that I was doing Genesis 3? Something about nakedness. What about this nakedness? This nakedness. And in the original teaching, I had not expounded much on nakedness. This is why this teaching might have to do 2 parts, because then I have to now go into nakedness. And then I realized, I said to myself, this is the Most High telling me, pay attention to nakedness. Yes? And I'm telling you, these teachings, please cherish them. Please listen carefully. These are coming from the Most High. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So before this, they were naked and they were not ashamed. They didn't even realize they were naked. And one of the questions was coming in the dream is, how could the Most High have his people naked? We're going to look at that. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Allah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Allah amongst the trees of the garden. And this is one thing with sin. When you sin, and this is consistent with us today, when you sin, you feel so ashamed. You start wondering if anyone else knows, if anyone else. And this being ashamed, this is why we cover up sin. Yes? A lot of the times we have sinned, even when we are in comments online, and people highlight things about us or about what is doing or what we're saying. And what we do, we start defending. We start defending because we are ashamed of the sin. We do not want to accept that we have sinned so many times. We parry everything. And this is Adam and Eve. They hid themselves because they were ashamed of the sin. And Yahuwah called unto Adam and said unto her, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden. Hello? I heard thy voice in the garden. Am I still online? When I get these calls, I have to wonder if I am offline and I don't know. Are we online? Are we still online? Let me know, someone in the chat, please. Unmute your mic and let me know, please.
YouTube seems to be stalled.
Hello?
We're online right now, but not on YouTube.
Are we online? Are you hearing me?
Can you hear? Hear you? Can you hear me?
Hello, are we online? Those on the Zoom, are you hearing me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hello? Hello? Oh man, please do not call me at this time, please. Yeah. So after Yahuwah called them and said, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? Now, this conversation again, going back to Eve, here, this tells us about free will. I forgot to speak about free will. So many things to speak about. Eve did this because of her free will. Our free will is what gets us into trouble. There are some brothers online who are speaking that we do not have any free will because the word speaks about predestination. Yeah? We have free will to make choices. But the Most High predestinates us for certain tasks, which means to do His will. If we are chosen to do His will, we will have to do His will no matter what. And I have proven this in my journey. I can speak specifically on this because there have been times when the Most High has sent a prophetess to speak to me. And one of the things, I remember one of the times, it was, he will have to do what I tell him to do. It was a time when I was going through some real difficult things. And I was thinking that I was doing the will of the Most High, trying my best, but without understanding at the time. And then I was going through some difficulties and wondering why. And he sent her to tell me why I am going through this. He says he will have to do what I called him to do. And that gave me an understanding of free will. That is what gave me an understanding of free will. Because anytime along this journey, if I think I am bad, let me go outside of the will of the Most High. I get a whipping, I get a flogging if I go outside of His will. If I stay within His will and get what is done, it is okay. But if I go outside His will, I get a flogging and I get warnings, I get dreams, I get things to tell me what I need to do. So when I get to do what I have to do, that is me, the predestination that at that particular point in time, I have to do that particular thing. But my free will is in deciding what I am going to do. Otherwise, because I can become a castaway, I can end up doing the will of Yahuwah, which is my greatest fear, and because of what I did with my free will, I end up being a castaway, meaning being a reject of Yahuwah, having done what He wants me to do, but my life is not in line with His word. So we cannot say we do not have free will, and that is what some of our Hebrew Israelite brothers do. They accept that they assume they don't have free will, and they say, well, everything is predestinated, everything about my life. So what they're saying, the way that I'm living now, the wanton, aggressive sin that I'm doing now, I don't have free will, so I do it. You understand what I'm saying? So because of that, their acceptance of not having free will is their embracing of sin. It is like once saved, always saved, eternal security for Christians. When they say once saved, always saved, it is a declaration that nothing can stop them from going into the kingdom, no matter how much they sin. It is the same thing. I don't have free will, so anything I'm doing, it is of the Most High. That's not it. All right? Anyway, let's go back. So after sin, the Most High asked them, why did they do it? Now, the Most High knows man. He knew that they would eventually do it. That is why the Messiah is the firstborn of all creation. He is the first fruits of creation. He was created before all things. He was in the Most High's mind before time began. Why? Because the Most High knows that when He put man on the earth, He knows man. Man is going to try to do that which He is told not to do. And that is why we continue to sin, that propensity in us to not do that which we are told to do. So after the Most High asked them what happened next, shifting the blame, refusing to take responsibility for our sins. This is another of our giant problems, refusing to take responsibility for our sins. Shifting the blame to someone else is the same thing that I'm telling you, even online. This is why when you're online and for someone like me who's a content creator who is actually teaching online, when you tell people things that they are doing wrong, it's an argument. Yes? The word is there, and they come up with all sorts of things to justify against the word. It is something that is in us, yes, which we're going to discuss later on. Okay. So refusing to take responsibility for our sins, Genesis 3:12. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So the Most High asked them, who told you? Then this who told you now has shifted into the great blame game. The man said, the woman. And Yahuwah said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did. So the man said the woman said, the serpent. And notice she said, the serpent beguiled me. Very important again. When sin comes upon us, someone tricks us. We don't know that someone has tricked us until the incident has happened. That is why you see many young girls getting pregnant. They come and they talk to the guy tricked them, and before you know that, they have gone to bed. That is why sexual sin is so important. And gotten pregnant, and then the guy just laugh and gone about his business. Because the woman, in that little moment of passion, whenever this stirs up, it locks off the spirit, locks off all rationality, and we become blind. And in becoming blind, sin takes its course and deceives us and slays us. Yes? So we are blinded by our desires. When our desires start to pump up, everything just keeps, it's like a rush. Do it. And all that is in your mind is to do the sin. Then when you're finished, that is when you start looking at it and say, oh, what did I do? What did I do? Oh no. Hey, that's the nature of sin. So the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. So she is leaning on the fact that the serpent deceived her. So because the serpent deceived her, Yahuwah, give me a chance. I didn't do it of my own. I was tricked. The Most High does not care about that. Yes? So when you're in false religion today and you're in deception, Hamashiach said, leave them alone, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall in a ditch. You cannot say you were deceived as an excuse to get away, to escape. No. The Most High said in Jeremiah 29:13, and ye shall seek me and find me when ye shall search for me with all your heart. The Most High looks on us as the onus is on us to search for him with all our hearts. And this was what happened to me when I was telling you about the times when he said I have to do what he called me to do. I was there seeking to do what he called me to do. And at times I felt so perplexed. I said, but what am I not doing? What does he expect me to do? What am I missing? Perplexed, not understanding. But the Most High does not accept that you don't understand that. He believes that you should seek because he knows what is in you. And he knows that if you seek a little harder, you will find it. So I might be thinking, I am doing all I can. But to the Most High, he knows me more than I know myself. He knows that there's something that you're not doing. There's something that you're missing. So when she says the serpent beguiled her, the Most High doesn't want to hear any of that because the Most High knows that he told Adam and Adam told her, and when the serpent asked her, she repeated it. So, being beguiled is no excuse. So the serpent beguiled me. Sin is so compelling. It is only after we have done it, that we realize that we have erred. Very important. That is why people, listen to this, especially those without much experience. Do not test sin. Do not think, oh, I'm just going to do it this one time and such and such. If you do that, you are in line to be destroyed. Sin is so compulsive, this becomes like a drug. It becomes like a drug addict rather, not a drug. Sin is like the drug, and this is like a drug addict, a junkie, who will destroy his entire life, stop bathing, stop everything just to chase the drug. That is how it is with sin. Yes? Anyway, after that comes judgment for sin. Genesis 3:14 to 19. Judgment. So the Most High gave them the judgment before. Now he is pronouncing the judgment. It is like they are in court and the Most High is pronouncing the sentence on them. Genesis 3 verses 14 to 19. Who said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, so the Most High starts from the bottom to the top. He starts with the serpent, the one who first initiated everything. But no one is left out. And Yahuwah said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire thee. We're not going to go deeply into these things because we're just going to show it as a judgment. So many things about sin, but we're not going to go exactly into the judgments today. And unto Adam he said, to the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I command thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and dust shalt thou return, and unto dust shalt thou return. So there we go. Judgments. We cannot, when the Most High gives us his pronouncements, his commands, we cannot escape his judgments. His judgments are true, his judgments are sure. So even though today we do not see the judgments, they are being laid out for us, and they are being laid in our lives. A lot of times we're going through things in life, and we're going through fire, hard times. It is for things that we have done. Even though he gives us, he said in Jeremiah 30 that I will save thee, but I will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So we still have to get some punishment out of it. Still. Because his judgments are true. So then he showed them mercy by covering their nakedness. Genesis 3:21. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahuwah make coats of skins and clothed them. Now this clothing is the first animal sacrifice. Yes? Coats of skins of animals, and clothed them. So this is a sacrifice for sin, a precursor to the time of the Torah, when he used the blood of bulls and goats for the atonement of our sins, which actually are precursors to Yahusha HaMashiach. Okay? All right, so we are going to look at the nakedness now. Notice the Most High clothed them. Notice when they were, when they ate of the fruit of the garden, they clothed themselves. So let's look at this in the book of Yabelim, Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 3, page 9, verses 20 to 22. And the woman saw the tree, that it was agreeable and pleasant to the eye, and that its fruit was good for food, and she took thereof and eat. And when she had first covered her shame with fig leaves, her shame, her body, her, what you call it, where a sexual organ is, she gave thereof to Adam, and he ate, and his eyes were opened, and he saw that he was naked. And he took fig leaves and sewed them together, and made an apron for himself and covered his shame. So this realization of nakedness was triggered by eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When she ate it, she became ashamed. When he ate it, he also became ashamed. Verse 26. And he made them for them coats of skin, and clothed them and sent them forth from the garden. So this is the Most High clothing them. When they knew of good and evil, he clothed them. Verse 30 and 31 are very important. And to Adam alone did he give the wherewithal to cover his shame of all the beasts and cattle. So when it says to Adam alone, it does not mean Adam only. It also means Kwa, his wife, Eve. To Adam alone, which means to man alone. Because the word Adam, it means man, it means mankind, and it also means the man, Adam. So I guess in this sense, it would mean to man alone. Did he give the wherewithal to cover his shame of all the beasts and so no animal was given their shame. None whatsoever. Only human being. And we're going to look at why this is so. On this account, it is prescribed on the heavenly tablets as touching all those who know the judgment of the Torah, that they should cover their shame. All those who know the judgment of the Torah, shame, and should not uncover themselves as the Gentiles uncover themselves. Very important. We have to get back to this verse after we look over what we have to look over. I hope I remember to come back. So, why were they naked? First thing first. Why? No, this is one thing that I looked into. I dug and I dug. I've been digging into this. And praying and looking into it. And this was what I got. They were one with the animals, not knowing good and evil. They were one with the animals, not knowing good and evil. As such, they knew no shame. So if you don't know good, you don't know evil, you will not know any shame. Because you are just living according to the life that you have been given and the instruction that the Most High gave them, do not eat of this tree. So the Most High left us, say, yeah, do anything, but do not eat of this tree. All right? When one knows the difference between good and evil, then one knows sin and the shame that comes with it. Remember, animals were created with spirit. They were not living souls. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 21 tells you about the spirit of the beast. Genesis 2:7 tells you that man was formed from the dust of the ground, and Yahuwah breathed in him the breath, in his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Man was formed from the dust of the ground. The animals were created. The animals were created with a spirit, and they did not have the knowledge of good and evil. Therefore, they themselves at this moment, they do not have any shame. Shame comes with knowing good and evil. Because they do not have free will. They were not living souls. Yeah? So they do not know the shame of sin. They were sins. As they say in Jamaica, a dog's delight is to bark and bite. I don't know if that is unique to us, but that is what I learned growing up. So a dog will bark and he will bite. The animals will do that which they are programmed to do, but mankind is different. Mankind is a living soul. Mankind has free will to make choices. That is the difference. So mankind was no different from the animals, not going good and evil. As soon as man knew good and evil, then the shame of sin came on to them. And not only the shame of sin, we're going to look at the judgment again. The day that you eat it, you shall surely die. The day that they ate of the fruit, that is when that judgment started kicking in, and we're going to look at that. So man before the fall were like the beasts. they did not know the shame of sin. Now, why did they know that they were naked after eating? But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. When they ate of the fruit, this tripped in. This was triggered. Sin began its reign in man, as man received the knowledge of good and evil. He now knew it was wrong to expose the genital area, as that leads to lust, fornication, adultery, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. In knowing good and evil, it triggers the sinful nature. That is Romans 7, our weakness for sin, which makes us attracted to do that which we are not told to do. So because the penalty of disobeying is death, and the wages of sin is death, when we sin, we are brought down a rabbit hole of sin and death, pulling us down. Now, before knowing this, we would be just like the animals, obeying the order of the Most High without making our independent choices. Making this choice outside of the order of Yahuwah. So this is actually showing us that we as people, we have to be walking in the will of Yahuwah. The will of Yahuwah. Am I echoing? Someone let me know, please. Can someone in the Zoom?
There's an echo on
I hear
YouTube,
that I
but
am
not on Zoom.
echoing.
The Zoom is okay, but there's an echo on YouTube.
YouTube is frozen. Oh, so it's still frozen on YouTube? Oh, it's echoing. What is causing this?
It's
to
not
echo?
frozen on YouTube from time to
I
time, but
don't
there is an
know
echo on YouTube.
what is causing this to echo. Am I echoing? Somebody let me know, please. Man, I can't believe y'all let me go almost an hour or over an hour. Man, oh man. Can someone let me know if it is echoing, please? Is it echoing or what's going on?
My voice
Are
seems
you
to be
hearing me?
okay on YouTube, but yours does not.
Is it echoing?
I can hear you.
Can someone just send a message in the chat? Let me know. Answer me, please. I'm asking. Everyone is just looking. Is it echoing? Oh, on YouTube. Oh, they are hearing an echo on YouTube. All right, let me see something. I probably have to try getting off the radio and see. All right, let me know if the echo is still there on YouTube, please. Let me know if it's still echoing on YouTube. All right, so I'll be going along. Somebody just message me and let me know. All right. Yeah, so I don't know where I was. Let me continue. All right. They were not ashamed of their nakedness before they sinned. And they were both naked, Genesis 2:25, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Genesis 3:7 though. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So it is only after they ate that they knew that they were naked. Somebody please let me know if it is still echoing on YouTube.
There is still an echo on
Please,
YouTube.
please. All right. Okay. It's very difficult here. I have to be manipulating how many different things here. And then when I'm asking, people are not replying. Please. All right. So why did they know that they were naked after eating? Yes. No, sin results in a death sentence. A death sentence. Genesis 2:16. And Yahuwah Allah commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. Romans 6:22. But now being made free from sin, and become servants to Allah, ye have your fruits unto holiness, and the end everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Allah is eternal life through Yahusha HaMashiach, our Master. The payment for sin is death. Romans 6:16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. I cut off the radio to try to see if can someone tell us, check YouTube and tell me if it's echoing? Please. I have to be teaching.
YouTube is still
It's
echoing.
still happening on YouTube. All right. So let me see if I can find something to get rid of that. Pop. Man, I don't know what is actually that. I don't know what else to do. So, I hope that what I did just did it. All right. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servant to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. So we have two choices, a big choice, sin or obedience. Now here is the problem now. We have been given religions in this world. Let's put a pause here. We have been given religions in this world. And the religions are telling us that it is okay to sin. Christianity has its many versions of it is okay to sin. Once saved, always saved. Law done away with. They don't have to keep the Sabbath. Grace, we are at the time of grace, no law. If you add any law, you have to go keep all of the laws. It is telling us, just forget about obedience. But it is telling us in Romans 6:22, whether unto death or obedience unto righteousness. So it is either we sin, which leads us to death, or we obey, which leads us to righteousness, which leads us to life. We have again other religions that are coming. You know that conversation that I'm having with that man. That man on YouTube Shorts advocating, because we did a video about sex on the Sabbath. And we showed precepts and a full teaching that if someone with an open mind comes there, without a doubt that person will see sex on the Sabbath is a no-no. That person is advocating having sex on the Sabbath. Yes? And appears to be a teacher who's teaching people so. No, that is defiling the Sabbath, which leads to damnation. This is what we're telling people. Obedience or sin unto death. We have to find out what sin is, and we have to find out what obedience is and follow obedience. Yes? So we also have, with the religions that are here today, we have Christianity, we have Hebrew Israelites that have their fair share. As I told you, we have no free will, and their equivalent to one save, always slave is all Israel will be saved. So when you actually, oh, somebody says YouTube sounds fine. Maybe I figure out what's causing it. When you actually see what's happening, you see that religion is actually the tool of Satan. All of those religions are Satan's tools. We have to know the wiles of the devil. We have to understand what is the will of the Most High. And we have to do it. And we have to understand the deception of the enemy and try to avoid it. The enemy will try to get you into disobedience to the Most High. You have to know what the enemy is doing. So whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. Ephesians 5:6. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of Allah upon the children of disobedience. So you have to know obedience and follow it, and know what is disobedience and avoid it. Because Yahuwah's wrath is resting on the children of disobedience. We have to understand that the Most High, as it said in the book of Romans, his goodness leads us to repentance. So not because he's quiet, and not because things look nice, and the Most High is like this. He is faithful. So even if we're doing wrong, he will continue to provide, he will continue to do good and continue to fellowship with us, waiting patiently, because he's patient, patiently waiting for us to be led to repentance. And he will send someone to correct us. Yeah, he will send someone to correct us. But will we be too proud? The pride of life. Yes? Will we be too proud to hear from the person and lose our opportunity? So don't be deceived. Not because something works, that does not mean it is right. Christianity, we know, is false, and yet still things work there so much that their defense is it works. So Christianity is full evidence that not because it works does not mean it is right. Understand? So not because something works, that doesn't mean it is right. Our task going through life is to figure out what is the will of Yahuwah, what is right, and what is wrong. And run. Because remember, we are called to follow the way. He says, Ruach HaKadosh will guide you into all truth. That means it is a journey where you are being moved from truth to truth. So I cannot accept that I know everything, I have everything right. I have to accept always that there's more to it. There's always more to it. And dig deeper. And deeper and deeper. That's how we have to live. Okay? Or else we are going to be snared by the devil. This is the nature of sin. Yes? We are going to look and appear. We're going to see things happening and things working. But we have to seek out the truth. So the knowledge of good and evil makes us aware of sin, which stimulates our sinful nature. This is what happened to Kwa. Knowledge of good and evil made she and Adam, aware of sin. And that stimulated their sinful nature. We're speaking about the nakedness now. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig trees leaves together and made themselves aprons. Romans 7:21-23 explains this to us. I find then a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. So the knowledge of good and evil stimulates our sinful nature, a nature in which whenever we try to do good, evil comes and sits right there to try to make herself the go-to. In the book of the Shepherd of Hermas, it speaks about two angels with man, the angel of iniquity and the angel of righteousness. The angel of iniquity, or the angel of wickedness, and the angel of righteousness. So whenever we want to do good, which is righteousness, the angel of iniquity is there, present with me, trying to get me to do that which is evil. Verse 22, for I delight in the law of Allah after the inward man, but I see another law in my members, in my body, in this, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in this. So there is something that is pulling me to sin, trying to rebel against my mind. My mind wants to do that which is right, but there is something in me that is pulling me to do that which is wrong, and that is what happened when they got knowledge of good and evil. The pronouncement in Genesis that they would die if they ate it, that now started ticking the clock, and they were given sin, which leads them to death. So sinfulness embedded in us to bring us to the death of the judgment of Adam. Ye shall surely die. Yes? 2 Ezra 3:21. For the first hearing a wit and was overcome. And so be all they that are born of him. So from that act of Adam, because there are some people that they argue about Adam, what we inherited from Adam. We did not inherit Adam's sin. We inherited his death penalty. Yes? We inherited his propensity to sin. We did not inherit his sin. Every man dies for their own sin. Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away and the evil still abode. This 2 Ezra 3:21 is matching up with Romans 7. It is telling us that because we sinned, because Adam's propensity to sin and his penalty was passed down on us, even though the children of Israel were given the law, they had that wicked heart still in them, and so they could not obey the law. So the good departed away and evil remained. So evil is like, when you give, you have some animals together and you give them something to share. And you have one big bad one that comes out and takes everything, and everybody has to woo, and sit aside. And while that big animal selfishly, sometimes you see it with goats, that animal selfishly devours everything, and everybody else has to be looking around and cannot go there. That is how it is with our sinful nature. That is how our sinful nature bullies the good that may be in us. Even the good thought that we have, the sinful nature bullies the good thought and ensures that we go and continue in sin. Now, I am telling you all of these things. We're going to deal with the remedy later on, which is Yahusha HaMashiach. So don't think we don't have a remedy for all of this. So physically, nakedness exposes us to all kinds of sin. Nakedness in Genesis, it is both literal and spiritual. We're looking at the physical now. Physically, nakedness exposes us to all kinds of sin. Colossians 3:5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth. Fornication, sexual sin, right? Nakedness. Nakedness leads to all of these. Fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things' sake the wrath of Allah cometh on the children of disobedience. So this is why it was important for the Most High to physically clothe Adam and Kwa. Physically clothe them. We're going to look at the spiritual aspect of it as well. In the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. So there are other sins that we can attribute nakedness to. It's very important that the first thing, when they got the knowledge of good and evil, the first thing they did was clothe themselves, because a flood of understanding came to show her that exposing herself will bring all sorts of evil. Fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness, which is idolatry. Then you also have, down the bottom, lasciviousness. There you go, up, yeah. Lasciviousness, theft, pride. All of these things go with nakedness. Lasciviousness is a desperate desire, sexual desire. Yes? People steal because of nakedness. When people expose themselves, what it does, it actually causes a desire in others. You cause a desire in yourself when you are naked. You cause a desire in yourself, and then you also cause desire in others. So theft, people will steal because of the temptation of nakedness. They will steal to try to get things, and I've heard of it before, try to steal to get money to finance, someone, because they have been tempted by what they have seen. And when I'm talking about nakedness, I'm not speaking about absolute nakedness. I'm speaking about people who have not properly covered themselves and have caused people to be lusting after them. You know, sometimes women are there. Let me start with the men. The men will go to the gym and pump up on their muscles and have the shirt, the tight shirt. And let me tell you something. Sometimes you see with believers, a lot of believers, you see them going to gym and then get their bodies. It is good to be healthy, but when you have on now these tight t-shirts, showing up your muscles and all of that, and have tight pants showing up your muscles, that is showing up your nakedness. The woman will come and they will have the things cut, and you see the V over their breasts and the back cut out, and exposing short skirts and short dresses showing their legs and all of those things. All of these sins come from those simple things. Pride. So people expose themselves for pride. Yes? Deceit. I won't even have to go into all of these things. Many people have been deceived because of nudity. People expose themselves and somebody sees and starts playing things over in their mind. Yeah, you can get that person into bed. And they come and they tell you, and you believe that they are the greatest in the world. They love you and they really want a relationship with you and this. And as they get what they want, they're going about their business, destroy their life, and go on about their business. Witchcraft. People work witchcraft to get people. They will see people and lust after them. I remember in Jamaica, they said they tie people in rice and peas. They have witchcraft that they do with the food and all of that. Hatred, emulation, strife, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, etc. All of these comes through physical nakedness. So nakedness is not only spiritual, it's actually both physical and spiritual. So when you expose yourself, or when someone exposes themselves, it triggers something inside of us. It triggers a desire inside of us. It triggers lust inside of us. It triggers all different types of sin. This is why, after they sin, they had to clothe themselves. And that is why the Most High clothed them to hide their shame. So the Most High calls this, exposing this, our shame. So physical nakedness can be the root of most sins. Romans 6:16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. Well, we did that before. All right? Now, spiritually, nakedness refers to sins and sinfulness. Sins and sinfulness. Lamentations 1:8. Jerusalem, and oftentimes it is used to refer to Yasharal. Jerusalem has grievously sinned. Therefore she is removed. All that honor honored her, despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Excuse me. Yes, sorry about that. They have seen her nakedness. Yea, she said and turned it backward. So the Most High uses in the scripture the nakedness to mean sin and sinfulness. Ezekiel 23:29, and they shall deal with thee hatefully, and shall take away all thy labor, and shall leave thee naked and bare, and the nakedness of thy whoredom shall be discovered, both thy lewdness and thy whoredom. Thy sinfulness refers to nakedness, refers to sinfulness. The internet is going on so terrible today. Last week it was so brilliant. Today it is the opposite. Anyway, so we must be clothed both physically and spiritually so as to overcome. We must be clothed both physically and spiritually so as to overcome. Ezekiel 16:8. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. The Most High covered the nakedness of Yahusha. And that's what he did with Adam and Kwa. He, through his mercy, covered their nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant with thee, saith Yahuwah, and thou becamest mine. Revelation 3:15. I know thy works, that thou art neither hot nor cold nor hot. I would thou wert hot, cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold or hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Because thou sayest, I am rich, and increased with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched, and miserable, and poor, and blind, and naked. And naked. The naked there is referring to sinfulness. Naked. Verse 18. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thy eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. So here is the assembly that is neither hot nor cold. Neither cold nor hot. In between, in the middle. The Messiah is saying that they are rich because they are physical, and therefore they have need of nothing. So it's actually saying that they do not know that they are naked, and they are blind and poor and miserable and wretched. They do not know that they are spiritually lacking. So he says to buy of me gold tried in the fire, which means to turn to him and to go through the fire, because gold is tried in the, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, as per Ecclesiasticus, Sirach chapter 2. So we have to go through the fire, not be comfortable in our ways, go through the fire, so that our nakedness, the shame of our sin, do not appear. So when we go through fire, when we go through trouble, when we go through discomforts, that is how we can get over our sin. When we are living too comfortably, yes, then sin will our nakedness, which is sin, will prevail over us. Verse 19, as many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Be zealous and repent. All right? So, would you believe that we have just started 1.5 hours. We cannot. I don't think we can finish this today at all. And I'm having to kind of speed it up. I would have wanted to go more deeper into some things. I guess I'll have to split it in two. Now, this was where we are now at the motivation as to what motivated this teaching here today. It was me actually, I think I woke up with this on my mind. If you do well, you will be accepted. If not, sin waited at thy door. I was just saying this verse over and over. And then everything just came in through this verse. And this is Genesis chapter 4, from verse 1. Acceptable and unacceptable offerings. Genesis 4, verse 1. Because what we have to look at, it is how we overcome sin. We overcome sin by doing well. If you do well, you will be accepted. If not, sin waits at your door. Sin is an opportunist lurking at our door, waiting for us to trip up, waiting for us to err, so that sin can take opportunity and come in. Genesis 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, Aqua, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from Yahuwah. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahuwah. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And Yahuwah had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Notice between the two offerings, it says, and of the fat thereof. That means he brought the best offering. But Cain did not. But unto Cain and to his offering, he had not respect. No, and it says, and Yahuwah had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and his offering, to his offering, he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahuwah said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? Now here is the key verse. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So let's get different translations of that verse. The ESV says, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. You must rule over sin. The desire of sin is contrary to you because sin is leading you to death. You have to do well so that sin does not overcome you. And to do well here is to know what is the will of Yahuwah and do it. Jubilee's version says, Jubilee's Bible, if thou doest good, it shall certainly be accepted. And if thou doest not good, sin lies at the door. And his desire shall be unto thee, but you must for him. You must rule over sin. The Berean Study Bible, Genesis 4:7. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you refuse to do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires you, but you must master it. And how do you master it? You master it by doing that which is right. It's very simple. So when we say, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness, this is what we are speaking about. Let me turn on this light. You have to know what is right. You have to know what is the will of Yahuwah and do it. It sounds very simple, but this is basically it, how you overcome sin. Yes? You have to do well. And to do well means to walk in what? In righteousness. And to walk in righteousness means to do what? To walk in the way of Yahusha HaMashiach. It sounds very, very easy. Very easy. So, rising from the fall now. The law, sin, and grace. The law, sin, and grace. Romans 5, verses 12 to 21. Romans 5. Did I say 12 to 21? Death in Adam, life in Hamashiach. This is our escape. This is our remedy. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. So it's telling us about the sin of Adam, that all men have sinned. So, verse 14, nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses. So, sin is not imputed when there is no law. But death still reigned from Adam to Moses when there was no law. Even over them that had not sinned after the similitude of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come. So it's speaking about Yahusha HaMashiach. But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one many be dead, much more, which is Adam, much more the favor of Yahuwah and the gift by grace, which is by one man, Yahusha HaMashiach, hath abounded to many. And not as it was by one that sinned, so is the gift. For the judgment was by one to condemnation, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. I had better slow down. I am here thinking of how I can quickly get this, but I better slow down or else I'll miss lots of the important part. So, but not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one many be dead, this is Adam, much more the favor of Yahuwah, and the gift by Yahuwah's favor, which is by one man, Yahusha HaMashiach, hath abounded to many. So the sin of Adam caused us all to sin. Yahusha HaMashiach's free gift now is to all of us unto salvation. And not as it was by one that sinned, so is the gift. For the judgment was by one to condemnation, Adam, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. So, the one sin that Adam did, that caused all the problems in this world. But all the sins that we have sinned, one single man now is able to help us to overcome the power of all of those sins, leading us to be justified by faith in him, which is Hamashiach. For if by one man's offense death reigned by one, Adam, much more they which receive abundance of favor and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one Hamashiach. So death through Adam, life through Yahusha HaMashiach. Therefore, as by the offense of one, Adam, judgment came upon all men to condemnation, even so by the righteousness of one, Yahusha HaMashiach, the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. So death in one man, life in another. For as by one man's disobedience, Adam, many were made sinners, so by one man's obedience, Yahusha HaMashiach, shall many be made righteous. Now we're going to see where the law comes in now. Moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound. So law entered so that sin may be highlighted to be sin. Sin may be highlighted and featured and say, this is wrong, that is wrong, that is sin. But where sin abounded, favor or grace did much more abound. So the more sin abounded by the law, showing us what sin is, because there is something in mankind that lets us know right from wrong. But many of the things we did not know or could not know were wrong unless the law told us. Yes? So for example, for us, it says, do not mar the corners of your beard. Naturally growing up, we're not going to know that it is a sin to mar the corners of our beards. We would not know that unless the law told us. So the law entered that the offense might abound, that sin might appear to be more sinful. But where sin appears more sinful, the Most High gives more and more favor, more grace through Yahusha HaMashiach, so that we can overcome. That as sin had reigned unto death, even so might grace reign through righteousness unto eternal life by Yahusha HaMashiach, our Master. So as the sin abounds and the law shows us what sin is and we show sin to more sinful, then the grace that is through HaMashiach, the grace here, by the way, refers to the favor of the Most High. It refers to the Most High allowing us a reproof or reprieve from the penalty of the sin. So remember at the beginning, we said that sin comes with judgment. Now the grace of Yahuwah is for the judgment to be deferred through Yahusha HaMashiach. Now that judgment is deferred to the forgiveness of sins that comes through Yahusha HaMashiach, so that sin is no longer hanging down over us. So the more sin shows itself to be sinful, the more the grace that is in Yahusha HaMashiach abounds unto life. So we were speaking about Kwa, about Eve, that when she saw that the fruit was good to eat and something to make man wise, she took of the fruit and she did eat. Let us look at sin and the flesh. Deuteronomy 32 from verse 9. I don't know if we can do all of it, but we can go up and see Deuteronomy 32, sin and the self. This that I'm presenting to you people, the body, the flesh, the self, that is the greatest ally of sin. This, all of this, flesh, the greatest ally of sin. This is greedy, this is selfish, this is proud, this is everything. And I'm saying this, I'm not speaking about only myself. Everyone who has a flesh, this is what the flesh provides. Now, if we do not find a way to tame this, this is going to continue to lead us into sin. Deuteronomy 32, verse 9, a very common and popular set of verses that we read all the time. For Yahuwah's portion is his people, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness, he led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. Now, this body could be nothing. And as I remember this, I I saw a video that of a I saw a video of a man who was and his clothes was black, and he slept on the street, and he looked messy and dirty. And there's a man who was doing a video. You know, people do all sorts of videos for all sorts of things. And he did the video, and the video was him speaking to the man. What are you doing here? How do you live? Whatever. And then he says, you want me to go buy you some clothes? And he said, here's my car, jump in my car. And when he saw the car, I think it was a Land Rover. The person was rich. And the man was afraid to go in the car. I said, get in, get in. And he went in the car. When he went into the car now, he videoed showing at the department store, at the clothing store. I went in the clothing store, he said, take anything that you want. Yes. And the attendant was choosing for him. The man said, no, let him choose for himself. No, the man went in very humble, the poor man. You see, when he was clothed in the clothes, and he gave him a bag and gave him some more clothes in it. You see, when he was clothed, and he looked at himself in the mirror. Man, you should see how he started to walk. His walk changed. Proud walk. You would think he was a millionaire. And when I looked at it, I said, man, look at the flesh. The flesh was devoid of anything, and the flesh was humble. The person was humble. And just as the flesh was satisfied, the man was turned into another man. Pride started coming off him. The pride was so loud. And he was smiling, and he had around his glasses and his hat, and he was there walking and at this look. And this is Deuteronomy 32. Let's go back. He found him in a desert land. This is showing that when he picked up Yasharal, they were nothing. Coming out of Egypt, they were nothing. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings, so Yahuwah alone did lead him, and there was no strange Elohim with him. So Yahuwah alone took him, nourished him, nurtured him, helped him along. This was the Yasharal. That was nothing. But guess what? He brought him to the clothing store and gave him a change of clothes, hat, glasses, more clothes in his hand, and guess what happened to him? He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. But guess what happened? But Jeshurun waxed fat, and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Alua, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. This sin journey sounds very easy. But when you are too comfortable, it is a challenge to not forsake Yahuwah. Yes? Because this flesh man is going to start get greedier and greedier, want more and more, and is going to drift away from spiritual things. That is why you cannot be focusing on worldly things and focusing on spiritual things. It's a battle that you just cannot win. You have to decide that you are going to give up worldly things and be like what Shaul says, with food and raiment be there with content. That is the only way you can win this battle, because this is not going to give up. It's just waiting, it's just lurking for an opportunity. And when it gets that opportunity, Jeshurun waxed fat, and Jeshurun is going to kick. And what did Jeshurun do? Jeshurun went after other Elohim. They provoked him to jealousy with strange Elohim. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Alua, to Elohim who they knew not, to new Elohim that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. That is why the world cannot truly follow Yahuwah. The world cannot follow Yahuwah. They can follow God. God is the God of this world. God is the one that you can follow and chase after this world. It's not Yahuwah. Yahuwah said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So Yahuwah is not God, because with God you partake of everything in this world. You partake of politics and business and this and that. I'm on threads, and if you ever see sometimes the people that are arguing with me, or people, when you look at them online, the business this and business that, and let me tell you something, you see this business thing, it's okay to be doing business if you are still in the world. You cannot truly serve Yahuwah. You cannot serve Yahuwah and Mammon. That is why the Most High calls out his people. When it's time to serve him, what did he do? What did he say to Pharaoh? Let my people go, that they can serve me where? In the wilderness. The Most High sets apart his people and separates them from the world so that they can serve him. We cannot truly serve him. And many people are making themselves comfortable now in the midst of Babylon, saying that they are serving Yahuwah. Many people are there, thinking they can serve Yahuwah in the midst of it cannot happen. The Most High has a time when he sets apart his people. Yes? He calls you to be set apart. If you truly want to serve the Most High, you have to set yourself apart. There's no two ways. There are no two ways about it. Verse 18, of the wrath that begat thee thou art unmindful. We are going to ignore Yahuwah. The more we become successful in this world, the more we are going to ignore Yahuwah. And hast forgotten Alua that formed thee. So what about Yahuwah? What does he think about this? And when Yahuwah saw it, he abhorred them, because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. We provoke him to anger when we turn from him and turn to other Elohim. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. Here we have that word here, faith. So, why did they not have any faith? Because when you can provide for yourself and everything is actually being provided just like that, you work, you do your thing, you do, and everything is provided, bam, faith has no space. But when you are like someone like me, sometimes don't know where the next financing is coming from, or the next money is coming from, or anything. You don't know what's happening, you just live. When you are like that, then you live and can truly walk in faith. Now, many people are afraid to come out in true faith. Because I have known people, they have said that they have come out in faith, but they have not. They might do some things, but cannot move from faith to faith, because when you're walking in faith, you have to move from faith to faith. Your faith has to be increased. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Alua. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation, and this is what has happened to us, which is why today now we are hating on the other nations. But it's not the other nations' fault. It is our fault. Yes? For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them. What happened to us? It was Yahuwah who did it, and he made the other nations to benefit and for us to lose. All right? So the thing with sin and the self, we just explained it. Whenever the self is made too comfortable, whenever the self is made to receive that which it wants, that which it likes, that which it is striving after, that which is longing after, this sustaining this, as long as we keep doing that, then the flesh will come in and we will not be able to walk out spiritual things. And when the flesh comes in, what comes in? Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Three things that lead us to sin will come in, and we will no doubt be led into sin. So this cannot be totally flesh. You cannot be in the world and be chasing after the riches and the comforts of the world, and then believe that you are going to be walking in righteousness and obedience to Yahweh. Impossible. Because this is never satisfied. The more you give it, the more it wants. Bob Marley had a song. Now you get what you want. Do you want more? Now you get what you want. You are going to want more. So you have to find a way to live a life where this can be tempered. This can be down. Yes? This can be held down. So you don't go after excess. What are you doing here? You don't go after, so you don't go after excess. With food and raiment, be herewith content. That is something that we have to keep in our minds. That is something that I have to keep in my mind. That at any time, you have to be willing to leave and give up everything. Verses 35 to 36, let me see what they are saying. Yahuwah says, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For Yahuwah shall judge his people. There is a judgment again for sin. And repent himself for his servants, when he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left, so he will bring his people down to nothing, and then he will lift them up. And this is the stage that we are at, my people. We are at the end of our captivity. We are at the stage when we are nothing. Our power is gone. And the Most High is now going to lift us up. But we cannot be going after this world. He said to come out of her, my people. So he said that he is sending us into captivity. Now, we're looking at sin. We're not going into depth into anything specifically with sin. We're just looking at sin in general. So for us, the children of Israel, he just told us. Let me say what he just told us. He just told us that he will judge his people and repent himself for his servants. Before that, he told us that he would send us into captivity, didn't he? Verse 26, I said I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and Yahuwah hath not done all this. So the Most High declared before that he would send us into captivity. And he sent us into captivity so we can know. So, sin and slavery. This is something that people do not like to speak about. Remember I was saying earlier, that we hate on our enemies, but it is not they who did it. It is Yahuwah Sabaoth who actually caused us to go through what we went through. So the Most High sent us into slavery as a result of sin. Deuteronomy 28 verses, let's go look at a few verses. Deuteronomy 28, 47 to 48. Because thou servest not Yahuwah thy Elohim with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. So when the Most High gives us abundance of all things, we did not serve him joyfully. So when the Most High gives us abundance of everything, we have to celebrate him and not turn to other people and say, oh, I did this or such and such. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahuwah shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now I have a question to ask here. Is this righteous or is this unrighteous? Because if we say it is unrighteous, we are saying that Yahuwah is unrighteous in sending us into slavery. If we say it is unrighteous, we are saying that Yahuwah is wrong. Yahuwah made a mistake. Yeah? And if you ask many people today about slavery, I've heard, listening to brothers that say, oh, I won't condone slavery. Slavery is wrong. It was wrong. Slavery was not wrong. Slavery was right. It was right. Because it is the tool that the Most High used to turn us around. How could we know at this stage? How could there be an awakening in the world? Look, in Deuteronomy 32, Jeshurun waxed fat and grew thick, and we went to other Elohim. What did the Most High say? I will make you serve other Elohim, and I will make you suffer among your captors. Now that we have gone through slavery, slavery has passed, and even after slavery, we still cannot find our place in the world. Now, the Most High could have taken us exactly as we came out of slavery, 18 whatever, 30 odd, when they abolished slavery. The Most High could have taken us and awakened us then. He did not do that. What did he do? He made a couple hundred years to pass to show us that still we are nothings in the world. So we still have not benefited from what we have gone through. So we are no longer in actual slavery, but we are still nothing. So that is why now we can look to him and know that we need salvation. We are the least in this world. Yes? Slavery is not wrong. So what are we saying now? Slavery is wrong. So when the Most High says the nations shall go into captivity to us, we are saying that it is wrong. So ours is wrong, but theirs is right. Nah. Slavery is a tool that the Most High uses. And this is one of the questions that Christians cannot answer. How is this God in the Bible condoning slavery? Eh? The Most High even gave laws about slavery. The Christians cannot answer. You have to speak it like it is. The truth is the truth. Slavery is a tool in the Most High's hand, and it is right. If it is right for him, it is right for me. I cannot say anything that the Most High does is wrong. Because then I will be what? Against him. Yes? Hamashiach spoke through John, and he said, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. If I say its slavery is wrong, then I am anti-Messiah. I am rebelling against Messiah. So let me continue. This that we went through, we deserve it. Baruch 4, 6 to 7. So that is why I don't hate. This is why I do not hate the tabernacles of Edom. Yes? I do not love them as I would love my people, because they are unpredictable. It is like you have to watch them out of the corner of your eyes, because they will come crouching. Let me get that. What verse is it again? Is it Sirach chapter 13? This is what you have to know about your enemies. You do not hate them. Sirach chapter 12. This is how I view the tabernacles of Edom. Never trust thine enemy. For like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. So I don't hate them, but you have to trust them with a mistrust. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. This is why the tabernacles of Edom will not be equal to us and cannot be equal to us in the kingdom. We cannot set them by us. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take away thy seat. That is why there has to be subjection when the children of Edom are with us. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. So let's go back to slavery. Baruch 4, verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Alua to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. So is this wrong of Yahuwah? No, it is our fault we moved him to wrath. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not unto Yahuwah. And where do we have this example of sacrificing unto devils? The same thing is taking place today. Sacrificing unto devils through Christmas. The Christmas season. In the next few days, it will be New Year's Eve. They will be sacrificing unto Janus, the god of, what they call it, gateways, portals, looking forward, looking behind. They will be looking back on the year that has passed and looking forward on the year to come in honor of Janus. Yes? And when you tell our people about it, man, they're wrath. All sorts of excuses as to why we celebrate his birthday. Nothing is wrong with that. We celebrate him, and nothing is wrong with celebrating him, and all sorts of things. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to Alua. Then when it comes time now for the feast of Yahuwah to be kept, they are silent. They do not want to keep the feast of Yahuwah. Yet still, their Christmas is their New Year's Eve, their Boxing Day, their whatever. They keep these holidays. This is Baruch 4, verse 7. Ye have forgotten the everlasting Alua that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. They have forgotten the everlasting Alua. That's what they have done. Because they refuse to keep his holy days. Today, I saw a video with this Christian man who was speaking to a Hebrew Israelite. And he was telling the Hebrew Israelite that you and I don't worship the same God. Because you don't believe that Jesus is God. So in other words, if you believe that Jesus is God, which is the spirit of Antichrist, then Christianity is accepting that you worship a different God. Because they worship a Trinity. If you don't worship the Trinity, they say you worship a different God. Right? So when you are in Christianity, when you are keeping their feasts and etc., you are sacrificing unto another God. It's not Yahuwah. When you offer up to Yahuwah, then you know that you don't keep those feasts. You know that Yahuwah has a son, and that son has a father, and you know that you keep the feasts of Yahuwah, you keep the holy days of Yahuwah in honor of Yahuwah, then it is a different mighty one. Okay. Where was I again? Oh, 15 to 18. For he hath brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation, and of a strange language, who neither reverenced old man nor pitied child. These have carried away the dear beloved children of the widow, and left her that was alone, desolate, without daughters. This was right in Yahuwah's sight, and it is good. We deserved it. But what can I help you? For he that brought these plagues upon you will deliver you from the hands of your enemies. So this is how it is right. He did it, it is right. But when the time comes, he himself will be the one to deliver us. Okay? So we were saying that slavery is righteous. Let's look at some of the righteous benefits of slavery for sinners. When you sin and you are brought into slavery, number one, it takes away the power of the nation. So the nation that was in sin, Yasharal, that was doing all sorts of foolishness, yes, the power has been taken away. So because the power has been taken away, the power of the unrighteous nation has been taken away, and that unrighteousness is now being punished. The unrighteousness is now being punished by being allowed to be in captivity. Number one. Number two, it allows our enemies to have the upper hand over us. So the punishment was that when we had the upper hand, all we did was to go into sin. All we did was to do all sorts of abomination. By putting us into slavery, our enemies now have the upper hand over us, and we cannot make any decision on our own. Because the Most High has left us doing decisions on our own for a long time, and we did not obey him. He sent warnings telling us, I'm going to send you into captivity if you don't behave yourself. What do? Let's say, and continue to do what we are doing. So he allows our enemies to have the upper hand over us, to take us out of where we are. Another one is that there is less chances of sinning after coming out. After being put into slavery, there are less chances of sinning because everything you do is monitored. Everything you do is forced. You cannot use your free will. And that's number four. No power of personal. If you are in sin, making personal choices, yes? If you are in sin making personal choices, and those personal choices lead you to do that which is wrong, then it is best to take away those personal choices. That's what the Most High does when he puts us into slavery. I'm telling you, many people have not even looked at the beauty of slavery. Sounds funny, the beauty of slavery. Right? So our freedom is taken away. No personal choices, no freedom. If we had freedom, when we have freedom, all we do is wickedness. So guess what? Take their freedom away. They can no longer do the wickedness that they were doing. We learn to live with the bare minimum. Remember, Jeshurun wax fat. When we wax fat, we grow thick. And then we forsake Yahuwah. When everything is taken away from us now, then we are able to turn to Yahuwah because we know we are no longer fat. We have grown thin. I was illustrating that man that they saw on the road to you how he looked humble. You should see how we cowered and he looked humble when he was talking. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And when they put on the clothing on him, he was proud and a whole different man. All right? So living with their minimum, that can bring out our righteousness. Number 7, our obedience is forced. We learn obedience the hard way. So, for example, when they were on the plantations, they have certain timetables, because I read upon it, they had certain timetables they had to face. To lunch at a certain time, food at a certain time, work between a certain time. And so their lives were mainly filled with work, with little allotment for other things. So their obedience was forced at the crack of a whip, because they whipped them if they did not obey. So when you have a nation now that is unrighteous, and you put them in a position where they are now being whipped into obedience, yes, that is the benefit of slavery. Again, I cannot say what the Most High ordained is wrong. If you want to do it and talk against the Most High, go ahead and do it. I will not speak against my Father. All right? Now that we are out of it, I can speak. Okay? Because we're not going back into slavery. So I can speak about it. If it was a chance that we might go back in, well, but we're not going back. So number 8, we're left in a state of hopelessness, so we will remember the fruits of our doings. So the hopelessness that we're in, so many times, that's why they have what is called Negro spirituals in America. When they sang to the Most High, because of how desolate they were, how desolate they felt, how hopeless they felt under the slave masters. Number 9, it makes us see what it is like without the provision of Yahuwah. When Yahuwah is without, we are calling on him and we are not seeing him, and we see all that we're going through. Yes? We see what it is like without the provision of Yahuwah, so we can appreciate it. And number 10, we are made to live a living, memorable nightmare so that the nation can be humbled. But guess what? So that the nation can be humbled. Our people today, especially those in the United States, we are the furthest you can go from humble as a people. That's why the Most High have to come for us, because we are so boastful, proud at this particular point in time. If time goes on, we're going to get more and more proud. The Most High has to bring us His word to try to get us down to humility. Yeah? So, slavery, obedience and sin, is this it? How do we overcome these worldly desires? How do we overcome the worldly desires to avoid us going or avoid us walking, living in the way of slavery? Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. That is how we overcome the worldly desires. We just look at slavery to show the importance of it as it relates to sin, as it relates to getting us as a nation back in line. But personally now, as individual people, as individuals, we ourselves have to have our own individual journey. And that journey, at this particular point in time, involves rejecting the world. This is hard for most people to do, because the world contains everything that this person here desires. Everything that we want. Anything you want, you can get. Anything you want, you can get. Anything you desire. And the world has given us everything that we desire. So how do we overcome the love of this world? Romans 12, verse 1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Allah, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Allah, which is your reasonable service. So you have to live your life as a living sacrifice. You have to live your life rejecting this world, not looking out for pleasuring this. You see, we have to be so focused on the spiritual, so focused on doing the will of the Most High, that everything else is insignificant to us. Everything else is insignificant. Me, myself, for example, I tell people, my whole aim is focused on the redemption of our people. I don't care what you want to focus on. My focus, Israel shall be redeemed. That is my focus. That's all. When I focus on the redemption of my people, I have no time for the pleasures of this world. Yeah? I press toward the mark of the high calling. That is what we need to do. We have to look on the kingdom. The kingdom has to be our preoccupation. Yes? So, how do we overcome the love of this world? Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world. See there? There it is. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Allah. So you have to be working, living to see what is the will of Yahuwah. So for me now, the will of Yahuwah is the perfection of his people, is his people being given the truth, the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, so that their lives may be transformed so that they can attain his salvation. My task, my job, is to bring the word of truth to his people, so his people can attain unto his salvation. That is my, and has to be my preoccupation. Your preoccupation is to not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Allah. Many of you out there, you don't know what is his good and perfect and acceptable will, because your mind is not transformed, because you are still conformed to this world. You can never get over sin unless you rip yourself away from this world, because this world is given into the hand of the wicked. And this world is given in order to satisfy this, so that this will always sin. So if you do well, you will be accepted. Genesis 4:7 in the ESV. If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. You see the battle that you're fighting? It is sin that is crouching at your door, and your challenge is whether or not you are going to do well, whether or not you are going to do the will of Allah, whether or not you are going to do that which is acceptable unto Allah. If you are able to do that, then you can overcome sin. If not, sin is going to overcome you, and you will not be able to attain unto righteousness, unto life eternal. The challenge to doing well, to being accepted, Genesis 2:7, and Yahuwah Allah formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. We are now going to look a little further now into this, the living soul, the breath of life, the flesh, and the soul. 1 Thessalonians 5:23, and the very Allah of Shalom sanctify you wholly, and I pray Allah your whole ruach and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Master Yahusha HaMashiach. This is our task. If you do well, will you not be accepted? Doing well means that our whole spirit, soul, and body must be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Master Yahusha. In the beginning, we look at nakedness. We look at nakedness, the physical, the body, the physical body. But we also look at nakedness and sin. Sin, which takes place in our mind through the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, through our bodies. All right? So for us to overcome, our body, spirit, and soul must be blameless on the day of Yahusha HaMashiach. All right? Man, time. 2:26. Let's go a little longer than before. All right, we looked at this before. All right, no. So the desires of the world and their connection to sin. This 1 John 2:15 to 17 has figured prominently in our teaching today. 1 John 4. 1 John 4. 1 John 2:16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Allah abideth for ever. 1 Peter 4 verse 1. The remedy to overcome this flesh, this sin, is suffering in the flesh. Suffering in the flesh. You see this? If it gets too comfortable, it's going to get us to sin. So, common sense now. A simple little question that even a little child can answer. If satisfying this, if this being comfortable gets us into sin, how do you think we're going to escape sin? We have to make this uncomfortable. We have to make this suffer. Yes? And we have to make this live a life of suffering. And that's why it says to present your bodies a living sacrifice. Every day, it has to be at some level of discomfort. It cannot be there seeking to satisfy itself at all times. Or else it's going to get spoiled like Jeshurun. It's going to wax fat. It's going to grow thick. It's going to forget the Most High. 1 Peter 4, verse 1. For as much then as HaMashiach hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin. So just as our Mashiach has suffered in the flesh, we have to make sure that we have the same mindset that we too are also going to suffer in the flesh. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. So when this has gone through suffering, trials, tribulation, persecution, yes, that is when this can cease from sin. That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lusts of men, but to the will of Allah. So when this suffers, the lust of men is when men go out and set up their system to get us into lust. Yes? The system that gets us into lust. Then when we suffer, then we will not have those lustful desires. But the more this is satisfied, the more our desires are lustful. You see the thing, the quandary that we are in. We were not placed in this world to come and enjoy this world. We were placed in this world to overcome this world. Once we get that in mind, we will be good. Because I know people will be hearing this and saying, but where is the fun in life then? Where is the fun in life? If I am to be here and suffering, I'm on earth and suffer. You suffer now because of the kingdom that is to come. Because the kingdom that is to come, that this is nothing compared to the kingdom that is to come. I was reading what it is, the first book of Adam and Eve. And when Adam and Eve were brought into this world, from the paradise, from the dimension that they were in, they cried and tried to kill themselves. We think this world is so exalted, And when they came here, they looked on this world as the worst thing. The worst thing. Because paradise is so far, far, far more excelling than this. So that is what we are looking at. We are looking at the things that are not seen. Because the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are seen are temporal, but the things that are not seen are eternal. So we are looking to eternal life, to living forever in a kingdom that far excels this. So we are actually making a sacrifice. Yes, of ourselves, just like a Mashiach sacrificed himself for his kingdom, we are actually sacrificing ourselves just as a Mashiach did. So how do we overcome these worldly desires? Oh, we looked at this before. Oh, that one was misplaced. Yeah, but anyway. So we're going to look at the devil, his devices, and the soul. And this is from a document called the Authoritative Teaching. Authoritative Teaching. This can be found on our website, just the word .org. So the authoritative teaching is a teaching that we got, and it's a teaching that we got in our process of proving all things hold fast, which is good. I have never seen a better breakdown of the soul than this. Okay? Came from a set of books that most people don't read. And that many of the books that I saw, when I read them, I said, no, these books are off. No, not reading this. But this one, about the soul, explains exactly what the soul is and can actually help us in dealing with sin. So let's go from verse 30. We're going to speak about the soul. Our soul indeed is ill because she dwells in a house of poverty. This is this body, right? While matter strikes blow at her eyes. Matter strikes blow at her eyes. These are the temptations that are given to us in order to get us to sin. Wishing to make her blind. That's what happened to us in the world. When we focus on the things in the world, they make us blind. That is why we said when Eve sinned, it was after she sinned, she said, but the serpent beguiled me. So she was blinded. Yes? For this reason, she pursues the word and applies it to her eyes as a medicine. So the soul pursues the word. So the word is the remedy to overcome the sinful man. If you say you're a believer and you're not feeding on the word, and I find myself sometimes, as someone is teaching the word, having to do so many different things. I forgot sometimes and don't spend as much time with the word as I should. The soul has to pursue the word and applies it to her eyes as a medicine. So this is a mistype, I think. So the word is a medicine to the eyes. So we are made blind, but the word itself is what opens our eyes and takes away the blindness. So this is from a manuscript, and of course when you see these dots here, the manuscript is actually damaged, so you can't get all the words. Casting away the thought of a blindness in afterwards, we don't understand what that is. When that one is again in ignorance and is completely darkened and is material. So without the word, while we are blinded, we are in ignorance and we are completely in darkness and we are material. We are going to be focusing on material things. That is when we are in blindness. That is why this body has to suffer. This body has to go through things, and it has to use the word in order to keep it afloat. Thus the soul requires a word every hour. It requires a word every hour. So a word every hour, this is showing us how much we need the word. To apply it to her eyes as a medicine in order that she may see. In other words, if we don't constantly live in the word, then we will be blinded. Blinded. And her light may conceal the hostile forces that fight with her. So if we don't read the word, we'll be able to see the hostile forces that fight with us. Because the word will reveal them and show them